US President Donald Trump is making an unabashed attempt to try and annex Greenland, whether through military means or through economic means. He has made his intentions absolutely clear. In fact, he put out a couple of pictures today, AI-generated images on social media, one of which shows Trump planting an American flag on Greenland territory. The other one, which was even more provocative, shows a map of North America which has Canada, Greenland, and Venezuela all painted in the colors of the American flag, red, white, and blue, hinting that this is American territory. Now, clearly, this has got under the skin of European leaders. He's also slapped 10% tariffs on 8 European countries because they sent their troops to Greenland. He's made it absolutely clear he will acquire Greenland by hook or crook. He says this is for national security reasons, but does it really add up? Why does Trump covet Greenland so much? Has it got to do with his history, with his own career before he became president as a New York real estate mogul? Does he think of geostrategy in real estate terms? I dig a little deeper. In the 18th and 19th centuries, a young and newly born United States of America grew in leaps and bounds. First, there was the Louisiana Purchase in 1803, in which Thomas Jefferson bought from the French a chunk of what is now America's Midwest, West, and South. States like Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, Arkansas, and Missouri were part of the Louisiana Purchase. Next was the Mexican Cession in 1848. As part of a peace deal after the Mexican-American War, Mexico handed over territory including what is modern-day California, Nevada, and Arizona. And then there is the famous Alaska Purchase from the Russians in 1867, which at that point of time was derided as an icebox and too expensive to purchase, but ultimately America purchased Alaska from Russia. But if President Donald Trump has his way, and as he has insisted, he takes over Greenland, whether they like it or not, this would be bigger than any of those 18th or 19th century purchases. According to the National Archives, the US Census, and the CIA World Fact Book, at over 2 million square kilometers, Greenland is bigger than France, Britain, Spain, Italy, and Germany all put together. It would be the largest territory that the United States has added if America were to acquire Greenland.
We're not going to have Russia or China as a neighbor, okay? I would like to make a deal, the easy way, but if we don't do it the easy way, we're going to do it the hard way.
Trump doesn't want Greenland because of any grand global strategy. He wants Greenland because it's the last large piece of territory available on the global monopoly board. Trump thinks like a New York real estate mogul. Which real estate asset can he covet? Trump has based his fixation on Greenland, which has been part of the Kingdom of Denmark for more than 300 years. He has cited reasons of national security, looking at threats from Russia and China. But in the past, he's also made a remark about the size of Greenland. And scholars say that part of the appeal of Greenland for Trump is the territorial grandeur. Trump is a real estate guy, and the idea of grabbing as much land as Greenland has seems to be the most guiding force for Trump. The most land ever in capital letters. Trump's philosophy when it comes to real estate is I don't rent, I own. And this is crucial to understand because Trump's worldview is binary. The smart people, according to him, own stuff. Only the losers rent stuff. Or if you're a loser, you're renting stuff from somebody who's smarter than you. No one can evict you from your own land or your own home if your name is on it. Trump does not believe in doing alliances. He's a real estate broker who believes in closing deals. So, the way he sees it, why do you have to coordinate with Denmark when you can buy the whole thing and put your name on it? Greenland then becomes Trump land. To Trump, Greenland is not a vast flotilla of moving ice. It is underperforming real estate. To policy experts, you could say that Greenland is melting ice, it's about climate science, it's about indigenous communities, and now it's increasingly also about geopolitics. But to Trump, it is just empty land. And in Trump's worldview, empty land means bad real estate.
Any decision about the future status of Greenland belongs to the people of Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark alone. That right is fundamental and we support it.
President Trump is now claiming that one reason he's pushing to acquire Greenland is because he didn't win the Nobel Peace Prize. This has been confirmed according to a text message which Trump sent to Norway's Prime Minister. Trump says he now no longer has an obligation to think purely of peace. Trump likes to pick on targets that are too weak to fight back, which in this case certainly describes Denmark and even the rest of Europe. Danish and Greenland officials met with Trump administration officials last week, but there was no solution, there was no breakthrough. Instead, the Europeans, some countries, had mild and minor military exercises that were planned for last week in Greenland. That seems to have really triggered Trump's response now, which is to slap 10% tariffs on Europe. Both Greenlanders and the Danish people say that Greenland is not up for sale. But try saying that to a pushy real estate baron like Trump. He will push back with a better offer, and that is exactly what he's doing now. Trump has also dismissed the importance of a long-standing military alliance between America and Denmark, according to that treaty which already guarantees America broad military access in Greenland. In fact, during World War II and subsequently during the Cold War era, the United States had thousands of troops and more than a dozen bases on Greenland. Today, it has just one, the Pidefix space station, and that too in one remote northern corner of Greenland. Trump seems more interested than any other recent American president in expanding America's borders. Just look at Trump's insistence since he's taken office for his second term. He wanted to take back the Panama Canal. He's repeatedly commented that Canada could become America's 51st state. He's talked about taking over Gaza and making it into the Riviera of the East. And now he's got his fixation on Greenland. It is clear that Trump is bent on territorial annexation in a way that presidents in the past have not been. Trump's annexationist ambitions echo those of American presidents from the 18th and 19th centuries, not from the 20th century. Thomas Jefferson, James Polk, Andrew Johnson, and Teddy Roosevelt, or Trump's childhood hero, William McKinley. America floated the idea of buying Greenland both in 1867 and in 1946, but it never materialized. Will 2026 be any different? All right, let's get a perspective from Greenland on this. I'm now joined by Naya Nathanielsen. She is the Minister for Industry, Raw Materials, Mining and Energy. Thank you very much, ma'am, for speaking with us. So Donald Trump is now threatening 10% tariffs on European countries, 8 of them because they sent their troops for what were routine military exercises there. How do you see this? Do you see Europe sort of standing together and pushing back against this? What do you make of Trump unabashedly saying he's going to acquire Greenland?
Well, I think the mixture of economic sanctions as the tariffs, I think, would be, and politics in terms of imperialism is a very bad mixture. I think these tariffs would do nothing good for either the US or the recipient countries. And I think it's really an unfortunate way to go about the question about Greenland, because this should be solved through dialogue and not by coercion or threats or even military action.
But Minister, what does this do to Europe, to NATO? Many are saying this is arguably the biggest challenge to NATO, perhaps even bigger than Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Will this fundamentally break the 75-year-old military alliance?
Well, first of all, I hope that Europe will stand united and will show their core values, which I think is the respect for international law and the acceptance that a rule-based world order is the way forward. I would hope very much that Europe would send that message loud and clear, and also I hope that member states of NATO will continue to have faith in the alliance and see the value of that alliance in terms of bringing peace and prosperity to the region.
But is this restricted, these Trump threats and these Trump tantrums, are they restricted just to NATO and to Europe alone? Because look at what he's done in Venezuela. He's said, he's even put a stamp on it saying it's the Donroe Doctrine, that the Western Hemisphere is America, so on and so forth. So the whole appending of foreign policy and security and going back to, hard power and imperialism, What does that mean for a small country like yours?
I think it's a threat and to more than just NATO. This is not just about NATO. This is not just about Greenland. It is the idea that we return to a world order of expansionism, imperialism, and trade wars that will dominate. And I think that it does nothing good for any of us, and it will cause more instability. So this is just about so much more than NATO and Greenland.
What is this? What is the mood though in Greenland? I know it's a small country, about 50,000 odd people. Is there any sort of affinity towards America, or is there any section of society there that says maybe this is a good thing if we were to join the United States of America, or is it anti joining any country, particularly in this case, joining the United States?
No, I think the people have spoken quite clearly that we want more maneuver room within the framework of the Kingdom of Denmark. We have chosen that quite clearly. We've been stating that quite clearly. So there is nothing that indicates that a majority wants to do anything in terms of becoming American. So I think the idea that this is not respected is just bewildering to me, because we do consider ourselves an ally of the US. We do consider ourselves a good friend of the US, and we understand their focus on national security and want to accommodate any of those concerns, just as we want to accommodate any interest in our mineral sector, for instance. So I think we've been a good friend and ally, and therefore we should not talk about threatening to eradicate really our culture and country.
So I want to get one final word from you, Ms. Nathanielsen, and that is that Trump has been using this sort of excuse or rational argument, call it what you want, that he says if America does not acquire Greenland, then either Russia or China will, and that there are Russian and Chinese ships floating off the Arctic coast, and there's all kinds of surveillance activity being done by the Russians and Chinese. Is there any merit at all to those charges that Trump is making?
None that we have seen, and if the US do have some sort of intelligence they have not shared with their allies, I think they should, because that's why we formed NATO in the first place, was to make sure that we had alliances across the transatlantic ocean, and that we could benefit from each other's knowledge and force. So I think if that was the case, we need to act on it. I have not seen any intelligence that supports that. So I think we can move about this in quite a different manner than just destroying my country.